So obviously you, well, as always, are going through some rough patches, Glenn. But last season, in the season finale, we saw you sort of lost in the woods, and you kind of had to make a moral decision. So can you talk a bit about that and how it's going to play into the new season?
Yeah, I mean, that decision was a little bit more complex than I think maybe some people saw it as. A lot of people I heard might have seen it as very benevolent, which I don't think it necessarily was. I think it was an understanding of how the world is, an understanding of when he looked into the face of Nicholas, he saw somebody that could have been him as well. It was a mirror of someone that lived and grew up in a different condition other than his. And I think also he's trying to preserve some semblance of his humanity too still. And that to kill him might be too far gone for him to come back from. So yeah, it was a very complex moment. And feeding into the next season, I think it's his goal and task after not pulling that trigger to continue to steer his life in that direction, to make sure that he can fortify a better place for his family to live.
And knowing what happens to Glenn in the comic, which of course is not at all the Bible of the TV show, but knowing that and knowing that they're talking about bringing in certain villains on the show, what is your take on that? Like, do you see Glenn's fate as sealed, or can?
Well, I mean, we've done so many different things on our show, other than the comic, different from the comic. So, I think it's always up in the air. You know, it's a pretty freaking cool death. You know, but at the same time, you know, we don't want things to be expected either. So. We'll see what happens.
And Rick and Morgan, it sounds like there's going to be a bit of a power struggle between these two old friends. Where is Glenn going to come down in that regard? And does he see both sides of the argument with them?
You know, I think Glenn has always had Rick's back. Glenn will always have Rick's back. He has also been a voice of reason for him. You know, I think Glenn looks at Rick and respects him and sees him as a leader, but also isn't afraid to voice his own opinion. And he's done that much multiple times throughout the series. So I think Glenn, he's got Rick's back, but he's also trying to steer him, or at least encourage him in the direction of humanity.
All right, well, thank you so much.
Thanks.